very well. But of course, what was striking was the contrast between Obama last night and Obama in the first debate, where he seemed to have taken Ambien or some other tranquilizer and just was sleepwalking through the whole thing. He was catching Romney out again and again on a number of points, and that's really what made it exciting.
Garance Francaruta, how do you explain the disparity between Obama from last week and Obama from Tuesday?
I think probably the main thing is practice. He was, very busy. One of the most important things I think he stopped doing last week is fundraising, personally doing fundraising himself. And if you think about it, being president, being a full-time fundraiser, and being a full-time campaigner for re-election, it's like having 3 jobs. And he stopped fundraising on Thursday and just spent the weekend focusing on homing in on the debate.
And it made a difference. Do you agree, Ricky Stevenson?
I don't think. I think the fact that he did take time off, that he was relaxed, his campaign people wanted him to take some time, just walk around, be relaxed. I think it cannot be dismissed that being partially from Denver and from Oakland, California, and to go from sea level to a mile high, that's challenging. I went to school in Denver, and going back and forth, it would take me a day or two to shake it, and I was 20 years old.
All right. This happened at sea level on Long Island. Stuart Haugen, your thoughts on why aren't all debates like last night's format?
Well, I suppose because at some point, you really do want to see how they'll act as president rather than in a barroom brawl. I think the big thing that came out of last night is Obama showed up, and I think that, as some of the pundits said, if he shows up and doesn't fall asleep again, he'll be declared the winner. Now, on top-line points, he was declared the winner, but even in the CNN and CBS polls that showed him the winner, the internals would suggest that Mitt Romney took him to the cleaners on key points. The same people who voted say that Mitt Romney is a much better leader on the economy and other points. And I've got the numbers here.
I think he's an attack dog. I don't think he's a much better leader.
The same people who watched CNN, the same people who said he won 46-39, said 58 to 40 by 18 points, that he's the better man to run the economy in the United States.
How long has he been coached on this, on the debate?
Who?
And on Romney, your candidate.
Doesn't matter how long you've been coached. It's what you do when you're there. Barack Obama has been playing a role for 10 years now. He's never done anything in his life. He's just been presented for the next level of candidacy. He's been preparing himself for his entire life.
Well, he's been president a lot longer than Romney has. So I think that in terms when it comes to experience,
that's the reason. And he's been president for 4 years, and we have a track record, Chris.
Yeah, and we don't have what's our track record on Romney?
But that's the point, isn't it?
Well,
we know
the point
what,
is
we know what the downside
when you're
is.
a challenger, it's always easy. You can say anything you want.
Yeah, well, that's what Obama said 4 years ago. And look what we got.
That's what Romney's doing now.
Obama said 4 years ago, I'm going to cut the deficit in half. Where are we? We tripled the deficit.
One at a time. Christopher Dickey.
But I think there's another kind of drama that's playing out here that's interesting if you step back from it. And I think both of the candidates have sort of split personalities. And part of the problem, big problem for Obama in that first intervention, that first debate, was that you saw on the screen what it is that has made a lot of people who supported Obama turn against him over the last 4 years. There is a kind of an arrogance, an aloofness, a diffidence. It's not the smiling, go-get-it, glad-handing kind of politician. It's a kind of a disturbingly introverted person that people just don't like. And that's what people saw in the first debate, and he transformed himself completely in the second one. With Romney, the split personality is primary Romney and election Romney. Primary Romney was nothing like this Romney. Primary Romney was trying to get to the right of Newt Gingrich. Primary Romney was saying all kinds of things that now he pretends he never said. So you have these two split personalities playing out on this big stage of national television, global television, and it makes for an interesting thing to study, and I think it may be confusing for a lot of voters.
Now, they say debates don't sway elections, but just one zinger, one turn of phrase can sometimes change the outcome. Case in point, Romney recalling that when he'd been elected governor of Massachusetts and was putting together his staff.
I went to my staff and I said, how come all the people for these jobs are all men? They said, well, these are the people that have the qualifications. And I said, well, gosh, can't we find some women that are also qualified? And so we took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
It didn't take long for the word binders to go viral. Tumblr has an entire blog devoted to binder jokes, including a variation on an old internet favorite, Hillary Clinton tweeting and Barack Obama responding, by morning a Facebook page called Binders Full of Women at more than 275,000 likes, including jokes, but also serious stuff, like an Economist article from April that highlights the wage gap between men and women, a wage gap in the United States.
And in the Barack Obama White House, by the way.
And in the Barack Obama White House, according to Stuart Howard, we'll pick up on that point. But first, let me show you the graph here, where you see on average, women earn something akin to a little bit over 80% of what...
It's 77% in the White House.
Of what men do. This is something that, Garance Francaruta, that you've been writing about this Wednesday. And again, the battle is to win over those undecided, those independent voters. How's this going to play?
Well, I think the issue with binders full of women is, it's a kind of a goofy phrase, and so the internet loves goofy phrases and has made it go viral. But behind that, there's a real substantive issue, which is that Mitt Romney, Ed Gillespie, his surrogate last night, said that he would have opposed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Act. He said he's not going to overturn it now, but he would have opposed it. And,
explain to our viewers what that is.
The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Act makes it easier for women to sue if they believe they've been discriminated against. And Romney, when he was running Bain and building Bain Capital, did not have any female partners there. And so then when he became a governor, it turns out that there was a bipartisan group of women in Massachusetts who had been putting together this binder as part of a initiative to push for more women in the state government in Massachusetts. And so when Romney came in, they handed him these binders. And so it wasn't really a situation where he decided on his own to proactively out of the blue assign people to put together binders. Well, I'm saying he did appoint a large number of women in his first 2 years.
All we have to evaluate is what did he do in reality. He had a split cabinet, half male and half female. Did he not?
The reason he had...
Hang on. Did he have a split cabinet, half male and half female? Let's get to the reality here. Forget where the binder came from. Did he split his cabinet, half male, half female?
Well, let's not forget where the binder came from, because the binder would not have been there if the women hadn't put it together.
Was it half male, half female? His cabinet.
14 and 33, Stu.
I don't care. That's way beyond the representation.
14 and 33.
My question, Stu. I'll trust you if you're sure.
My question, Stu, is listening to Romney, and this is why it's so hurtful to him, that particular thing, is you have the distinct impression that when he became governor of Massachusetts, he didn't know any women who might be qualified. He had to have bring me the folders because I don't know anybody. Now, he was smart enough to see that, especially in Massachusetts, he should include a lot of women in the upper echelons of his administration. Good. God bless.
He did it.
He did a lot of things. Healthcare in Massachusetts, a model for the country, I would say.
So stop. Yeah, what's the point? He did it.
Hold on. The one thing, though, is
he had a massive overrepresentation of women in his cabinet.
He's been running against his own record.
I'm not talking over you. I'm trying to get this point made. Did he establish a cabinet with more women than had ever been done before in the state? Yes, he did.
It was handed to him.
All right, let's Garance has got the unfair disadvantage here because she's on the satellite link from New York. Garance, go ahead.
Well, I think the point is that, Governor Romney did these things in Massachusetts when he had a bipartisan Massachusetts electorate pushing for them. And he was responsive to that electorate. How he would govern as governor of the United States when he's responsive to a different electorate is an open question at this point. I mean, he says he's not going to create the same kind of healthcare system he did in Massachusetts in response to bipartisan pushing from people in Massachusetts. It'll be interesting to see what he does with the appointments of women. And I think the evidence from his time at Bain, when he was on his own and there wasn't a bipartisan coalition pushing for him to appoint women or to hire them and promote them, was that it didn't happen.
There's some points that Governor Deval Patrick has made that by the time Romney left office in 2007, that Massachusetts was 47th in the nation in job creation.
Where did it start?
Pardon me?
No, that's 47th as an average across his 4 years. His last year, they were way higher than that. They started virtually last. You're taking 47th as an average of the 4 years of the Romney presidency. It is not his last year.
You mean the governorship?
The governorship, excuse me. We will see as a president. But the point being, that was 47th was his average across 4 years. When he left, the state was much better than that in job creation.
Okay, well, how about household income in the state was declining? Or Romney cut education funds
Again, if
more than
your
any
numbers are wrong
other
on the
governor.
first figure, why should I
Wait a
believe
minute,
you on
let
the
me
next?
finish. Roads and bridges were crumbling.
They're
Business
crumbling all
taxes
across
were
America
up.
right now, and Barack Obama's
Business
been president
confidence
for 4
was
years.
down. Massachusetts' clean energy potential was down. And there was a budget deficit. Now, he talks about all the things that
You
he did
really
while
want
he
to go
was
into budget
governor.
deficits with me tonight? With
He
Barack Obama
talks
as president?
about all of the things that he did while he was governor.
I'll cut the budget deficit in half by my first term. No, instead I multiply it by 3, and I run that for 4 years.
No,
at over
we're
$1 trillion.
talking about Romney right
I know.
now.
No, hang on. We're talking budget deficits. People run into things that they don't foresee,
You
and
can
apparently
say
Obama ran into something he didn't
something as
foresee.
an
too.
outsider.
Just like George Bush ran into a surplus and turned it all into an enormous
A
deficit.
surplus driven by a Republican Senate and Congress.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Senate.
Sure.
You can
Still.
say what you're going to do when you're on the
Presidents don't
outside.
control the budget, Chris, do they?
Well, I'm sorry, is Barack Obama responsible or is he not
No, he had
responsible?
a Democratic Congress that pushed
For
us
how
into
long?
this. He has a Democratic Senate now, and we haven't passed a budget in the United States for 3 years, have we? Barack Obama's proposed 2, and they have not gotten one vote. One vote in the
that
Senate.
President Obama was elected, Republicans were meeting and determining that they were going to stand in the way of everything
and that's
he did.
exactly what Democrats do. The Democrats will do that the night that
Now,
Mitt Romney's
how am I
elected,
gonna get some-
because that is the job of politics, to get the other guy
if
out of
you
office.
say
Let's
you're
not play
going
games
to
here.
stop the president, that means you're going to stop the country.
No,
How
no,
can
no.
Republicans say we're going to bring the
You know,
president
when you
down?
start-
Wait a minute.
Let's bring
We're going to
let's
bring
bring
the
this
president
discussion.
down.
Let's bring this discussion to the present for now. And since the first debate, the Republicans have pressed one advantage, and that is on the security lapse that led to the killing of the U.S. ambassador to Libya in Benghazi on September 11th, forcing the U.S. Secretary of State ahead of Tuesday's debate to officially take responsibility for Chris Stevens' death. Barack Obama talking about it during that debate.
Secretary Clinton has done an extraordinary job, but she works for me. I'm the president, and I'm always responsible. And that's why nobody's more interested in finding out exactly what happened than I did. The day after the attack, Governor, I stood in the Rose Garden, and I told the American people and the world that we were going to find out exactly what happened, that this was an act of terror, and I also said that we're going to hunt down those who committed this crime.
Christopher Dickey, when this all blew up, we were talking about it a month ago, and we said this was a huge problem for the Obama administration. Has he put some of that controversy to rest with his remarks?
I think that everybody expected that he would be hit more aggressively by Romney on those remarks than he was. But maybe Romney's saving his ammunition for the next debate.
Maybe Crowley saved him last night.
Well, maybe Romney's the
moderator.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I think that's
Maybe-
not the case. I think the case is that Obama is actually very strong on foreign policy questions, and it's Romney's weakest ground, frankly. And I think the Republicans have been trying to turn it into a stronger ground for Mitt Romney. They think there was an opening there on Libya, but it remains, and it has been, President Obama's strongest ground. He's much weaker on the economy, frankly, and I think the results of the early Insta polling showed that last night. And that's consistently been the issue of this campaign, is his weakness on the economy, not on national security.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole thing about Benghazi, there was clearly a major screw up in Benghazi. I mean, the ambassador's dead. There's no question about that. And it wasn't anticipated. They weren't ready for an attack like that, and so on. But the whole question of whether there was a cover-up, all that's become such a Washington story. First of all, I don't think that's going to move voters. But secondly, I think the jury is out on that. And finally, as we said a month ago, when it first happened and we were talking about it, one of the interesting things about those Rose Garden remarks is they're not the kind of remarks that you make unless you have a pretty clear idea where you're going to go with that. And especially the stuff about bringing them to justice. As we count down the days, weeks to the hours to the elections, the question will come up, well, what are we doing to bring them to justice? And I think there's one concern of Romney, is that if he comes down too hard on this issue, and then all of a sudden we wind
I'm
up...
waiting for the cruise missiles to fly
Well,
into
yeah,
Libya.
if he comes down too
Not
hard...
because we know who did it, but because we have to distract people from the
Stu,
stories.
of course. But yeah, the Republicans never go to war. We know that. But
I'd be as critical of Republicans if they did that too, Chris.
If we have that,
I'll tell you what,
if
John.
we have that, I think it's going to be difficult for Romney to respond.
And when we come back, we'll pick up on some of the foreign and get back to the domestic policy issues. You're watching the France 24 debate.
I truly will.